Welcome to an all-new episode of Second City Sports Zoom Style.
Zoom.
Zoom style.
Along with Lakina McGee and Lamont Scott, I am Sydney Brown. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the Instagram.
And you can follow me at Lamont Scott on Facebook, Lamont Scott 69 on Instagram, and Lamont Scott 16 on Twitter.
And you can follow this show, Second City Sports, on Anchor, which kicks you over to Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you download your podcast. Make sure you search for War on Anchor. We are also on iHeartRadio. When you download the iHeartRadio app, search for War on Anchor. That's WARR on Anchor. And we are also on the YouTube. You can look at us virtually and visually. That's at War Media, WARR Media. And you can watch us do our thing. Here we are. Voila. Like, comment, share, and subscribe too. We need those.
Yep.
All right, Lakina, let's kick it off with the Chicago Bears because we all know we all three of us have a lot to say about Sunday's game against the New Orleans Saints. If you listen to our last podcast, we told you what was going to happen, and we'll let you start out, Queen, about what happened in Sunday's game down on the lakefront.
Basically what we've seen for all season, right, guys? I mean, the offense was completely discombobulated. The defense, it had its moments, but they gave them some big plays. And again, lather, rinse, and repeat. I mean, we've been seeing this all season long, and I like to apologize. Like I said on Friday's podcast, I like to apologize to all the rest of the nation because most of the folks saw that game and they had to see that. And yes, they were able to catch up and tie it and force overtime, but that final score was nowhere near close as the game itself. I mean, from penalties, and we'll get to the Javon Wims stuff in a second. That was just completely stupid. But I just think that, look, the Bears, again, I'm going to channel the late great Denny Green. The Bears are who you thought they were, and this time, there were a couple of times where the Saints sort of almost let them off the hook, but in the end they didn't. So look, again, the play kind of speaks for themselves, in the eye test. So. They're 5-3 now. They probably shouldn't be. They probably should be like 3-5 or even 2-6. But it's just again, the play yesterday kind of spoke for itself.
Yes, greatly. Yeah, it's pretty ugly in Chicago on the offensive side of the ball and on the defense side of the ball, and it's bubbling over, and you can see it. And I think the defense can only hold so long before they crack. And that's what I think is happening right now as far as with the big plays you mentioned them giving up. It's cracking because you can't just hold the Titanic and think it's going to, make it through the NFC. It's not going to do it. And as far as them getting back in the game, that was more so of the lack of focus on the Saints part, and not so much as them getting back in the game. I was looking, and that's my Super Bowl. So I watch every play, and it's not a bad play in the game for me personally. Because if they do something good, it's fine. If they do something good, it's fine. So it was like the Saints took the foot off the gas and was like, they can't catch up. They didn't get them they don't get that offense no respect, just like the rest of the league don't get that offense no respect. They can't catch up. Then when they got to catching up, they were like, oh, okay, wait, we got to play a little bit. They coming back. It was kind of too late, and they almost blew it by playing games. That's another team that we can say that conversation for another day that's in total flux in a sense also. I don't know what's going on with them. Michael T, Kamara, great game. He might make it on the stud and dud list for a few people, but yeah, it's that Bears offense, man. I think we got some serious problems with our coach, man. And bringing Trubisky in for one play, what was that about? And Yeah, we got some serious problems. Like you said, we're gonna get into that Wims stuff a little later. So
Couple observations here. How the Bears started off the game offensively, I thought was very encouraging, especially running the football. David Montgomery finished the game with 21 carries for 89 yards, his best game since week 2 of the regular of the season. Of course, you had another offensive lineman go down for the Bears. And number two, the play calling, I know it's not going to be much of an issue this week, but I had a problem with the decision making of Nick Foles, especially at the end of the first half when Cairo Santos kicked the field goal for the Bears to go up 13-3, I believe. It should have been 17-3 because Troy Aikman on the broadcast on Sunday pointed it out that Jimmy Graham was basically wide open one-on-one in the left corner of the end zone. And this is the problem the Bears have had all season long, scoring consistently in the red zone. Without Googling, I want to ask you, Lamont, and also to you, Lakina, how many rushing touchdowns do the Bears have this season?
3.
I'll say one.
Ding, ding, ding. And that was David Montgomery's only rushing touchdown this season against Tampa Bay early in last month. This is the problem that the Bears have had all year long, scoring consistently in the red zone. Nick Foles clearly missed the mark with Jimmy Graham after the 2-minute warning going into halftime. Of course, the Saints came down and scored a touchdown with their tight end, Jared Cook, to cut it to 13-10. That lead should have been, 17-10 instead of 13-10 at halftime. That's one problem that I had. Number two, give the Saints offense credit. Alpha Kamara was a bigger threat in the passing game and not so much in the running game. I've never seen so many inside slants and screens thrown at. And shout out to head coach Sean Payton of the Saints. This is one of the ways you beat this Bears defense. You throw a lot of screens, and it worked yesterday. The Bears did get pressure on Drew Brees, but once you thought that he was about to go down, he just moved to the side a little bit. They called out some screen plays, or he found someone down the field. And I'll tell you what, they are taking a page out of the New England Patriots playbook for the last 2 years when Tom Brady was there, not let Drew Brees throw the deep balls consistently like he was early in his career. And just let him manage the game, make a couple plays here and there, and that's how you win ball games. And also, my third observation, that Saints defense, we talked about on Friday, Lakina, during our preview. Cam Jordan stepped up. He had a couple of sacks yesterday. That secondary, which we told you that you could throw on, the Bears didn't take advantage of that, and that secondary stepped up on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know some people are wondering why did Coach Nagy take that timeout at the end of the first half, which kind of helped lead the Saints to scoring that touchdown to kind of cut into that lead. And also to remember too, Will Lutz also had missed a field goal prior to that, so the score could have been tied at the half. So in that sense, but unfortunately, I think the Saints sort of, Peyton and the Saints and some of his play calling kind of kept the Bears in the game. Like, there was a 4th and 1 and they had like a slant to Kamara that would have iced the game. They wouldn't have had to go to overtime, but they missed it. They went slant to Kamara and he actually lost 2 yards and the Bears were able to get the ball back and ultimately ended up having that game tying field goal. But I mean, and also the Trubisky, I think you mentioned it too, Lamont. The Trubisky, he's not Taysom Hill, so I don't know what was the point of him. Hey, I could do it too. Like, wait, what is this? Like, it was like backyard like football or something. But I mean,
he must have played Madden for the night before. I don't know.
Who knows? I mean, I don't know what was going through his mind doing that, but. Look, I mean, the Saints did what they needed to do. They kept the ball rolling. They kept the ball moving. They kept the Bears off the field. The Bears just, went over themselves again. And, Cole Kmet, I mean, he got a little bit of a reprieve because that should have been a fumble, but yet apparently, forward progress, I don't know what the heck. that was actually during the overtime when the Bears possession, but I mean, God, I mean, this team is not very good, folks, and let's just say that, like we've been saying, that 5-3 record now is very deceiving.
Yeah, that 5-3 record is really deceiving. I remember the people I was watching the game with yesterday. I was over some family house, and they was like, "Well, you can't really fuss about them. They 5-2." I was like, "That's a mirage. It's not real." They like, "How can you say it's not real?" And then they seen a couple of plays and was like, "Okay, I can see where they bad or are the Saints that good?" And I was like, the Saints are in flux right now, like you mentioned. Sean Payton brung them back. I mean, bad calls down the stretch. That Kamara play. The reason he has to do that is because he has no receivers. He has no one else to throw the ball to but Kamara. So he has to go to him or to that tight end. He don't have many options down there right now. And the Saints are – it's a lot of people down there feel the same way we feel here about our Bears, even though they got pretty much the same record almost. And it's like, only thing they may get a break in is that their division, and they already beat Tampa Bay once. So, you know, they may catch some slide on that. But as far as us, we got to deal with a Minnesota team soon that looked extremely okay with a running back that looked extremely healthy. So it's gonna get rougher for the Bears, and like people that was predicting that they may lose all of these games in that stretch just might be right. I was giving them 2-2 out of it, but it could go worse than that. And going forward, I think it all gonna start with that play calling still. I mean, it's too many questions in what he do, and a lot of it just doesn't make like football sense to a lot of people. A lot of the experts, I can all through the game, you can hear the announcers breathing in their microphone like what was that, like you. And anytime you getting that from your play-by-play team, that's a sign of frustration. That's, you know, those are the frustrations that we let out and try not to let out, and our teach as professionals not to let out. But when it be that bad and that obvious, it just comes out. And we be like, we try to hold it in, but it just comes out. And they on the air letting it out like, oh, like Aikman looked like he was by. Yeah, lucky they can't cuss. Let's just say
that.
You're listening to Second City Sports along with Lakina McGee, Lamont Scott. I am Sidney Brown. As we discussed the Week 8 loss for the Chicago Bears to the New Orleans Saints, 26-23 in overtime. The Bears' record is now drops to 5-3 with the game against the Tennessee Titans on the road next week. Of course, on this show we had them at 2-6. So go figure on that one. I want to get back to the broadcast as Lamont brought up Troy Aikman. I don't know if you guys caught this, and I did. This was the middle of the third quarter, and this is when the Bears started struggling. The Saints were catching momentum, getting back into the game. Fox had a shot of Allen Robinson strolling down the sidelines with his eyes rolled in the back of his head, rolling his eyes and looking away from the office, basically turning his back. And they went to Erin Andrews, and she reported that Allen Robinson had to separate himself from the office for a minute. Of course, he eventually came back and started pep talking with quarterback Nick Foles. And as we told you the last couple of weeks on this show, if the Bears start losing, this train may come off the rails again. Of course, we'll get to Javon Wims in just a second. But it's little things like that, and when you're not winning, everything is exposed. Now, I'll go back to the on the field portion. Quarterback Nick Foles, he didn't look that great yesterday. Did you guys know in every game this season he has thrown at least one interception or more? Think about that for a second. And this is supposed to be your better option than Trubisky. As of right now, I don't think so. Now, I'm not going to sit here and start a controversy that Trubisky should be back in the lineup. I know Troy Aikman threw that out there on Sunday, but I'm not going to go there just yet. But it was a couple plays I will give Nick Foles credit on. I believe it was in the middle of the first half. He did hit the post route to Darnell Mooney. He had a great game yesterday, which the play that happened the week before on Monday Night Football and they lost to the Rams, he couldn't connect on it. So he connected with Mooney on Sunday on that play. Also, that touchdown catch to Allen Robinson, that was one hell of a catch by Allen Robinson. He should and will get paid. Now, will it be by the Bears? We shall see, but that man is going to get his money. So I want to point out those two plays for Nick Foles yesterday. Other than that Saints defense pressured him yesterday, and at times Nick Foles looked like old school Jay Cutler when you give him pedal on his back foot. mistakes are bound to happen. I'm just saying.
Yeah, like you said, you mentioned that those couple of big sacks by Cam Jordan, and Marshawn Lattimore, I think, has only like his third or fourth interception this year. So that Saints defense has been much maligned all season. Had actually stepped up yesterday, believe it or not. And I did see a couple of times where I thought Troy was going to go off, like you said, Lamont. I mean, I thought he was like, what the hell are they? I know you want to say something like, what the f are they doing? Like what?
Yeah,
You're running
it's
back.
real. It's
Like
real.
what? Yeah, sorry, Troy. Sorry, Joe. I mean, that was like I think he was this close to like going off, and I've never seen him like that before. Even when he's calling the Cowboys games sometimes. But yeah, sorry guys. I mean, you're seeing what we've been saying all season. But I mean, it's just like look, Mooney's been such a great find for the Bears. Montgomery, he did what he's supposed to do, but there were a couple of times when he kind of got stopped in his tracks, so the Saints sort of knew what they were gonna run. Jimmy Graham had a couple of big drops, especially the one in overtime that would have advanced the possession, and that they could have set up for a game-winning field goal, but that turned out not to happen. Cordell Patterson, he's not a running back, folks. I wish they would stop trying to use him as such. Please stop trying to use him. And also Ted Ginn, why is he still on the team? They should just send him back to the
ball. They was worried about Harris dropping the ball. I don't think he'll be there next week. They was worried about Harris dropping the ball, so that's why they kept on for one more week to see what the guy they brung in dropped that ball. The guy, I think he came from Oakland or something. Yeah, they was worried about him dropping the ball. And Mooney, and this is bad. He may be the reason Allen Robinson don't get paid because Chicago does stuff like that. They may think that that's their future, but going that way and don't pay a great receiver like A-Rob, I can see it. If it happened, I wouldn't be surprised at all because that's what we do here in Chicago. So I wouldn't be surprised. And as far as quarterbacks, I had a quarterback dream. And the only way we're going to get one is if we accidentally find one. Kind of like with the Bulls when they got Derrick Rose by accident and winning the lottery. We're going to have to accidentally, somebody going to have to fall in our lap by accident because ain't nobody just casting off quarterbacks. So we would have to get one that falls in our lap. And then even if you look at the end of this year or somebody that may get traded or waived in the next 24 hours, ain't nobody out there. The only person that may be on the market, they probably wouldn't take anyway, and that's Tyrod Taylor. And they may not take him anyway if he was on the market. So it's not a future there. And the whole going back to Mitch, I think Aikman's frustration was I just want to see something that's competent. I think that's what was frustrating him, the incompetence, that word. And I think it goes back to the coach, though, because he was looking at, Nick Foles didn't make a couple of passes, but the plays that were being called and the times they were being called, and do you think that, and I'm asking you this too, Sid, do you think that Nick Foles had a point when he mentioned the timing of them plays coming in to him and that they haven't made up their own minds before they send it in, so that takes time to get it in, and by the time he get it in, he got to try to process it and then process what's in front of him. And I think that's where the "you ain't out here getting hurt" part came in when he said that comment. And I can see that comment being extremely real because they don't be looking like they know what play they want to run. Just like you mentioned, Lakina, with Cordell Patterson. Every time he come in the game, they doing a toss to him. I know they're not paid for it. And like you say, he's not a running back. And if you use them as something else, you might can sneak them away as a running back like other teams used to do. But, yeah, I think it all starts with the coach, man. And I'm sincerely thinking that they may have to do a clean cut at the end of the year and get rid of Pace, what we called it last year, the trilogy of doom or something, Pace, Nagy, and Trubisky. All of them. They got to just, chop them off at the head. Get it over with. Start over.
Hey, if the Bears don't make the playoffs, that's what's going to end up happening anyway. But I want to focus it on this where head coach Matt Nagy will come in. Of course, he made the comment after the game that that going to the Javon Wims situation, that there was no place for it. What we mean by that is Javon Wims punched New Orleans Saints defensive back C.J. Gardner-Johnson in the face in Sunday's game, which led to Wims's ejection. Of course, this all stems from two things. One, last year the Saints defensive backs were talking trash to the Bears wide receivers, in particular Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller. Of course, what happened on Sunday, Anthony Miller got into it with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and of course, both Miller and Johnson both shoved each other, but that was the end of that. Of course, when C.J. Gardner-Johnson was alone, Javon Wims stupidly went up and started punching him in the face. Thank goodness that fight broke up quickly. I know Jenkins from the Saints jumped on Wims' back to try to break it up, but it escalated quickly, but the fight was over quickly as well. Now, I want to ask you guys first before I give my opinion. Do you think Javon Wims, it looks like as of this recording that Javon Wims may be suspended by the team or the NFL? We'll find out. If we have any news on that before we cut out, we'll give that to you. But despite what happens after this, do you think Javon Wims should be cut due to his selfish, foolish actions? Lamont, I'll start with you.
Whether he gets cut or not, we wouldn't miss him. That's what I'm saying. I think that was a situation where you got an elder statesman in A-Rob that was being picked up, and you got Miller who's not living up to Miller's what he's supposed to be, but he's still an elder statesman when it comes to Wims. So you got Miller who gets into it with Buddy, and he like, man, what you gonna do about it? You the youngest one. You got to show the team you're part of the team. You know, he might have sent my man off like that because what he did was completely stupid. I mean, like, and then the guy looked at him and laughed after the first punch, like, now what you gonna do hitting me with a hammer? He looked at him like, you hit me, I got on the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, player. Then he goes, you see the second one, he hit him harder. So that's why I think he will be suspended by somebody. Because the first one was like a little girl punch, and then dude looked at him like, man, what are you doing? And then he hit him again, and you could see he was like, I'm gonna hurt you this time. And all you really did was hurt a career that wasn't blossoming in too much already. And I think that's what you did. So, I mean, him being shipped out on this trade deadline does not surprise me. He might go to Green Bay tomorrow and become a superstar.
So if you were Ryan Pace, would you cut him?
I would trade him for a tackle. I would trade him for something. I ain't gonna just cut him. I'll trade him tomorrow for something though. I mean, because him being cut, you won't miss him regardless. Because you don't even know he on the tap. The people didn't even know who he was when he ran out there. So I wouldn't just dump him from a team standpoint as far as a cut. No, I would move him. That way I ain't got to worry about him. But if they move him to a team that got a quarterback, watch he become a star.
Which could very well end up happening. But look, I mean, I guess you could say it sort of goes back to the old SEC days, right? I guess, Wims went to Alabama, Gardner-Johnson went to Florida, and I think there may have been some history there too prior when they were in college. But apparently Wims said that, I guess he spat on him, and I guess that's how it all started. I mean, even still, I mean, yeah, I mean, if that's true, then look, I mean, there's no excuse for that. I mean, you hit a guy with his helmet on, then you double down and punch the guy, and then you got ejected, and you may have cost your career. I mean, will he get cut? Maybe. I'm sure he'll get suspended maybe 2 or 3 games because that's just completely uncalled for. But will he get cut? I don't know. I mean, if you try to trade him, I don't think you're going to get any takers. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't think he'll probably you probably just won't hear from him the rest of the season. But I don't know. Well, like I said, well, nothing will change. So that's the thing. Well, you just answered my question. Nothing will change. So it won't even matter.
Yeah, he don't even matter. Like the people I was watching it with him was like, "Who is that?" I'm like, he don't even matter. And that, just like that whole offense. I mean, we don't have a running back. We can make plenty of moves. Hey, ain't Jordan Howard out there on the market for nothing? We can get Jordan Howard.
He's on the Miami Dolphins.
He's on the Dolphins now. I doubt the Dolphins are going to trade him.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, we need to make a move. We need a running back, another one. to spell Montgomery a little bit, and we can use a wide receiver and anybody on the offensive line. You know, they even talking about bringing Long back, so they getting desperate around now.
As far as Javon Wims is concerned, if the league or the team doesn't do anything, I would cut him just to send the message to the young guys in their locker room that selfish, foolish acts like that will not be tolerated. And I get that from that standpoint. But like you said, Lamont, if you try to trade him, you're not going to get anything for him. So the best thing you do if you want to come, just cut him. Somebody else will pick him up. And if he does something great, if he doesn't, that's on him. He might have caused, like you guys say, he might have just thrown his career down the toilet. It depends on what happens if he gets suspended or not, and or if he gets cut for the Bears to send a message to the rest of the team. Now, I want to go back to David Montgomery. As I mentioned earlier, he had a good game since week 2 with 21 carries for 89 yards. Coming into Sunday's game, he had 24 missed tackles, and that was the most in the NFL by any player or running backs. As I mentioned before, I like this kid's style as far as making people miss, but even though the Bears' offensive line is shaky, even with the injuries, you have to hit the hole first. Then you can start dipping and dodging and making people miss. But what I saw, especially again yesterday, I saw him trying to spin before he hit the hole, and he was tackled for a loss a few times. And I said, he can be a good running back if you just hit the hole first. If you hit the hole first, then start making people miss, that's okay. But if you start spinning before you see the hole, because we all know that holes on offensive line don't stay open for long in the NFL. When you start doing all that spinning and shifting and all that stuff before you start hitting your lane, that's going to be problems.
See it. To piggyback on what you're saying right there, go back and look at his earlier tapes, right? And you will see something that has changed. He used to hit the hole when it was some form of a hole, and he's had to adapt and start doing that pity pat spin in the back because he's been getting, if you look at his numbers, he's been hit behind the line of scrimmage more than any other running back. So he's had to develop that now where, okay, let me try to do something before I get to this hole because it's not going to be there when I get there. So if you look at his style, it has had to change because you look at all of last year, anytime he ran the ball, he had to try to run over somebody. So you look at he had to change it. I think he's a very competent and good running back. He's probably great if we know how to use him properly. But I think that comes from getting hit behind the line of scrimmage so much. And I think if he didn't have to get hit behind the line of scrimmage at least 7 times a game, he'd be a much better running back. His numbers would be so much better. But they need to work something out. But I do think that's where that moving behind the line of scrimmage come from.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his takes from Iowa State, this is sort of what he did. He did the spin. He did, the bruising through the cross. That's one of the reasons why the Bears drafted him. But like you guys said, I mean, he needs to sort of, work on, not doing that spin because it just sets the defensive guys up to get you right away, especially if you have room, in front of you. If you don't have a lot of room and the guys are right there, they can kind of, disrupt your rhythm. But I think he does need to hit the ball more. And he's shown that he can, go through and bust through tackles. But, at the same time, I think you're going to get more and more of these defenses are going to start figuring stuff out about David Montgomery. So who knows how long he'll be able to be that big bruising back. So we'll see what happens. But he looked really good yesterday for what they gave him. But I just think that he just needed to do it more.
It.
I think that Montgomery will get better, hopefully, if this offensive line gets better. But I don't know if this offensive line is going to get better, so you have to use for what you have. Now, I know Montgomery's not used as much in the passing game like Alvin Kamara was yesterday for the Saints, but how can you do that when your offensive line is patchwork right now due to injuries? Now, I gave the offensive line of the Bears credit the first few weeks of the season because they were running the ball a little bit more. Now, since the injuries have come, they've been not even average, slightly below average ever since for the last couple of weeks. So I think David Montgomery can be good, but like you mentioned, Lamont, will this Bears coaching staff, i.e. Matt Nagy, use him properly? And right now, what the evidence shows, The answer is no. And it's not
Look,
Montgomery's fault.
yeah, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead,
I'm
Sid.
done. I'm just saying it's not Montgomery's fault that he's
Yeah,
not being
but
used properly.
yeah, because I think, and I think Matt Nagy has I want to call it a emergency scared type of coaching style. He played a tie almost all game in a sense. He played not to lose so much that he's losing because of it. And I think when it comes to running backs, I don't think he's adapted to his personnel, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have the position players to run the offense you want to run, then you need to bring that back in and run what your people can do. You got an all-pro receiver if you want to use them. You got a burgeoning rookie who can help that receiver if you just willing to restructure what you think is supposed to work in this league or whatever. And then you do have a running back because, like Lakina said, Patterson is not a running back. You do have a running back. I would rather them give Ryan Nall the ball than Cordell Patterson for a running play, simply because he's a running back. And I think it's a matter of Nagy having to coach his team and not his scheme. I might have to get that on a shirt for the Bears. Like, get a bear and say, coach your team, not your scheme. Yeah, I think I'm gonna start using that.
You should. Yeah, it'll be. I mean, like I said, if just use him more, just as simple as that. Just use him more. I mean, like I said, he leads the league in broken tackles, so I think that maybe that should be a sign for Matt Nagy to perhaps maybe use him more. Just saying, maybe you'll be better off. I don't know, especially at the team you're coming up against, and the Titans. That defense is sort of meh, so he should be able to go through that Titans front seven. But again, we'll talk more about that. Yeah, we'll talk more about that on Friday. But what else is your you guys takeaways from the game before we go into what happening around the league?
The Saints. My fault, Sid. Go ahead.
I just want to take a look at the stats from Sunday's game for the Bears. Allen Robinson had a very good game with that touchdown catch. He had 6 receptions for 87 yards. Anthony Miller with his best game of the season all around, 8 catches for 73 yards. Darnell Mooney, 69 receiving yards on 5 catches, including that 50-yard catch early in the game from Nick Foles. Of course, our tight ends were missing yesterday. Only 1 catch for 2 yards for Cole Kmet, the rookie tight end out of Notre Dame. Of course, you guys mentioned Jimmy Graham, 2 catches for 13 yards. He had a couple of drops yesterday. I want to focus in on the defense. The defense did not only have 1 sack on Drew Brees. And I'm trying to figure who it came courtesy of Khalil Mack. But Roquan Smith and Danny Trevathan both had great games. Both those players had a combined total of 20 tackles. Roquan Smith had 9 solo tackles. Danny Trevathan was 6. Now, Danny Trevathan had a great play on Alvin Kamara on that third down play right before the 2-minute warning, before the Bears tied the game to send it to overtime. The Saints spreaded the Bears defense out. Alvin Kamara received the ball out of the backfield, which he was great at in yesterday's game. Danny Trevathan saw Drew Brees, followed the ball, and followed Kamara down the sidelines. And he made the play on third down and tackled him almost immediately, because if he didn't, Kamara was gone and the game would have been over to regulation. So I thought those 2 guys had great games from a defensive standpoint yesterday.
Yeah, Trevathan better than he did in a long time, actually. So I was happy to see him completely healthy again. Maybe that was the issue, because he was looking kind of slow earlier. And Roquan just doing what Roquan do quietly, really. He do it really quietly. He really is the glue back there, because he tackle everything moving. So, I mean, I think he's doing his thing back there. And as far as the sack part go, Drew Brees get it out too quick. They not playing that hit him game. That's why he's 40-plus playing it back there. He going to be back there forever, because he not taking no shots like that, man. They getting rid of it. He not doing it. That's why you said yourself about what they ran, 21 slants across the back of the Bears.
Yep.
All day long. He not going to take it. You're not going to get no licks on him like that. So that's what I mean when I say coach your players and not your scheme. Because they know what they got. They know what they don't got. They know they don't have Michael Thomas. So they got to get rid of the ball. They know that they only got Latavius Murray on some plays, and when they're not giving it to Kamara running it, they throwing a slant to him or over the top to him. And so they're coaching what they got. You know he only got 2 weapons. Okay, I'm only going to use my 2 weapons. If I only got, and I hate to bring basketball up, but it's like the Boston Celtics used to run the same play every time down the court when they was in their 80s heyday with Bird. They'll send him over at the top, run the ball to Bird, and let him decide what to do on every play down the court. They never changed it. They used what they had, and I think if you notice the only thing that's good for you, use it. And use it till they stop it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think. Look, I think the defense. Yeah, look, the defense did what they always do. They kept the Bears in it, but you wonder though, like I've been saying for the last few weeks, at some point where you think if your defense is probably going to be sick of having to take the offense, bail out the offense. I remember Akeem. I know Akeem Hicks said yesterday at the presser that we're an elite team. I mean, okay, Akeem, who I love dearly, but to say that the Bears are an elite team, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, of course, I'm sure. Look, he's not going to say that. Hey, I think we suck. He's just not. He just isn't going to say that. So, of course, he's trying to get his guys, amp his guys up, and that's fine. But there's fantasy and there's reality. Them being an elite team at this point, it's not a reality.
So let me ask you a quick question.
Got 2-6 where we have them, they're not.
Exactly.
So do you think when he say that, he meant that his defense is an elite team and the offense just a part of the team? You think he judging it just from a defensive standpoint when he say elite and not overall, and he just kind of included them in it because they're on the same team?
It can only get you so the defense, like we've been saying, can only get you so far though. And then look, we saw those last couple of games. I mean, that Rams game last week should have been a blowout. This game yesterday should have been a blowout. So
yeah,
if it not been for the defense.
Yeah, and then like next weekend, they should be able to outscore them boys. But we'll see.
The Titans are not going to be the Titans are not going to be in a very good mood. Again, I'll say the rest of it for Friday, but they're not going to be in a very good mood, I'll say.
Yeah.
One more quick note from yesterday's game. Taysom Hill, he made a difference in the victory last year at Soldier Field. He had another touchdown in yesterday's game. They ran a couple of slant plays, and the Bears ran it very well. But on that touchdown in the fourth quarter, he looked very good. And Jalen Johnson, the rookie defensive back out of Utah for the Bears, he was completely lost on that play. Along with safety Tayshaun Gibson. Taysom Hill, he's their version of Cordell Stewart. Now, you're not going to see him throw too many passes, unlike Cordell Stewart did back in the day. But Taysom Hill is that ultimate weapon, and he bit the Bears in the backside again yesterday.
Yeah. Why you think they paid him so much to be the backup?
Okay, yeah. I mean, look. I mean, he showed you why he's getting paid all that money. Whether it's deserving or not. I mean, he showed you why. I mean, he drives alive for them, and it's been that way for years now. So, I'm not surprised that, of course, that's why. That's why Nagy did what he did, bringing Trubisky in for that one play. I'm like, okay, yeah, Taysom Hill is not Mitch Trubisky or vice versa. It just doesn't. Something just doesn't fit here.
I almost would rather try Taysom arm than Trubisky, because even with all the Nick Foles mistakes and misses, so to speak, I still would take him over Mitch Trubisky in a heartbeat. Because one thing I don't think Trubisky could do is hit Moody like Foles did. I don't think Trubisky throw the ball 15 yards when we need 14 yards. I've just never seen him do it. If we need 15, he's going to throw it 11. 12. He's not going to push it across that line. And even you can say, well, it's on the receiver. Yeah, 50-50, so to speak. But no, Mitch just showed me that he never would push that first down marker to try to get that first down. And that's why I think Foles still is our best option.
You're listening to Second City Sports along with Lakina McGee and Lamont Scott. I am Cindy Brown as we review the Bears' 26-13 26-23 loss rather to the New Orleans Saints in overtime in Week 8 at Soldier Field. The Bears' record now drops to 5-3. On this show, we had them at 2-6. Go figure with that one. Uh, this Bears team, looking at the rest of their schedule, I think we said this on Friday, Lamont, looking at the rest of their schedule, they still have a chance to turn it around because let's be real here. They only need 5 more wins to qualify for the playoffs. And I said this before the season started. You're going with that extra wild card. You have 3 wild card spots now instead of 2, and that's both in the AFC and NFC. I think the Bears can make the playoffs, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be a log jam throughout the rest of the season. And looking at the Bears' schedule, like Lakina mentioned, we'll preview the Tennessee Titans game on Friday. But looking at that schedule, you have the Titans on the road next week. Then you have Minnesota here on Monday Night Football next in 2 weeks. And then you have your break, I believe, your bye week. And then you go to the Packers, and then you play the Texans, you play the Jaguars, you play the Lions again here that you defeated on the road in Week 1. And then you wrap up the season at Minnesota and then Green Bay. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but you still have a favorable schedule coming up. And you mentioned earlier, Lamont, and we'll get this to in our next segment with studs and duds and break down a couple of games that we saw from Week 8. But Minnesota, people want to throw them in the trash, whether they make the playoffs or not. You cannot count this team out. I know some people said that the Bears could sweep Minnesota. They should be able to sweep them. Yes, they should, but I strongly disagree with that, especially after what Minnesota did to Green Bay. Like I said, we'll break that game down in our next segment. But the way that you've been playing these last couple of weeks, some of these games that you thought it was going to be easy on the schedule, they're not going to be so easy.
You got Dalvin Cook healthy. He we'll probably, I think a couple of us may have him as one of our studs for this week in Week 8, and the defense has gotten better for Minnesota, even though they lost a lot of their top guys for various reasons, but that defense has gotten better and made big plays for them. So so for people who have said that, like you said that it's gonna they're gonna sweep the Vikings, not so fast. And the Packers, we'll see where the Packers are. The Lions, I mean, look, you should have lost that game for the Lions. I think they're gonna remember that. So we'll see where they are there. The Texans might be playing for their jobs. So they might be feeling inspired here, and they got the Jags in between both the Vikings and the Packers to finish up. So I don't see 5 wins. I see maybe 3 or 4, because it's just it's just so many weird things happening in the NFL this year. I don't see it. I don't see 5 wins. I'm sorry. Not with the way this team's been playing.
We gonna see. I mean, it's there if they want it. That's how I see it. It's there if they want it. And that goes back to the coach. If he coach
it. On that note.
True. Okay, so what you guys want to do? You guys want to do like the rest of the NFL, or you guys want to take a 20? What do you guys want to do?
I say let's take a 20, because I have a lot of things to say about what I saw live via my computer screen yesterday, because there's some stuff that we need to discuss. And some of it's going to be great and some of it's not going to be so pretty. I'll just leave y'all teasing you with that.
Oh, how very teasing of you, Sid. So on that note, we will be back to talk more Week 8 in the NFL, also college football, some big news there that could affect one of the big games come this weekend, and as also the Pac-12 is coming back too. We'll delve into maybe the Bulls. Mo Cheeks has been named one of Billy Donovan's top assistants for the Bulls, and we'll add some more stuff too. So we'll be right back with more Second City Sports Zoom style.
Zoom
style.
Welcome back to Second City Sports Monday edition. I'm Lamont Scott, along with Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, doing Monday's review of Sunday and everything else sports related.
Where can they find you on social media? Zoom style. Where can they find you on social media, Lamont?
You can find me at Lamont Scott on Facebook, Lamont Scott 69 on Instagram, and Lamont Scott 16 on Twitter.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the Instagram.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. And you can follow this podcast, Second City Sports. That's part of the We Are Regal Radio Network. That's War Media. You can find our podcast by simply searching for War on Anchor, which kicks you over to Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. Wherever you download your podcast, make sure you search for War on Anchor. We are also on iHeartRadio. Please, please, please download the iHeartRadio app and then type in the search engine box War on Anchor. You can access our programming podcast there. And we're also on YouTube where you can see us live. You can access that on YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WARR Media. You can see our lovely faces as we do our thing. Hello.
All right. So, what caught you guys' eye in Week 8 of the NFL yesterday?
Go
Go ahead, Lamont.
Everybody's about the same, so to speak. Ain't nobody just elite and jumping off the table, because even the elite teams have gotten punched in their mouth by mediocre-ish type teams. So right now, I just think it's still a crapshoot on everything halfway through now. I think it's still a crapshoot on it all. I think a team that you don't know can still go to that playoffs and win it all. I mean, they got to, of course, qualify for the playoffs, but I don't see they say Kansas City, but for some reason, I just don't believe in them like that. They are winning and dominant. The only team I say that's separating themselves is the most disrespected team in football is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we'll get to them later by study thingies. But yeah, I mean, everybody else I think can be beat. I think everybody can be beat. Any given Sunday, shout out Jamie Foxx.
A couple of things that I noticed yesterday. One, as you mentioned, Lamont, we did see a couple of upsets. Congratulations to Cincinnati defeating Tennessee. And, of course, yours truly picked the Miami Dolphins to beat the Los Angeles Rams. Tua Tagovailoa, if I said that name correctly. He didn't have the world's greatest game, but he wasn't terrible either. He was held up by their defense and the special teams. Even though the Rams took advantage of his turnover early, the Miami Dolphins completely dominated the Los Angeles Rams yesterday from that turnover on. So congratulations to the Miami Dolphins. As you mentioned, Lamont, there's only maybe one or two great teams, and that's both mostly in the AFC with Pittsburgh and Kansas City. I think Pittsburgh with their win against Baltimore, we'll break that down in a minute. But with Pittsburgh's win, as we told you throughout the portions of the season, their defense is better than what people give it credit for. Now, they may not have any big names like they had in the past when Mike Tomlin first took over, but their defense is still pretty good. And Minka Fitzpatrick, who they traded for last year and helped turn that season around when Big Ben Roethlisberger was out with that elbow injury, he's making a huge difference in that secondary right now. You saw him make the last play of the game yesterday against Baltimore, breaking that pass up, taken away from Willie Snead of the Ravens. So he's made a big difference there. Now, as far as these other teams, both in the AFC and the NFC, they all bunched up together. They're a bunch of average and some of them maybe above average teams, but you only have a couple of dominant teams. Like you said, Lamont, I'm not sure if they're going to be at the top when this is all said and done. But right now, it's a crowded field, especially now with the extra wild card berth in both the AFC and NFC conferences. So it's going to be a tight and should be an exciting playoff race from here on out.
And yeah, I think Pittsburgh looked really good yesterday against Baltimore. They got 2 interceptions off Lamar Jackson. Made a big defensive stop late in the game. You can kind of wonder if should there have been maybe more time left, but I digress. But they looked really good yesterday. Excuse me. Cincinnati got their second win of the season, sort of upsetting the Titans. That was kind of a mild upset. Like I said, they won't be in a very good mood this week. The Colts sort of stayed paced with the Titans. It's sort of like a 2-team race between the two of them in the AFC South. The Raiders, they looked good yesterday. I wasn't expecting that win against that loss. Yeah, I mean, look, I mean that win against the Browns. I mean, that I was very impressed. Again, we'll talk about it when we do our studs and duds. Easy for you to say, easy for me to say in a little bit. But Minnesota looked really good. Like Dalvin Cook, when healthy, is one of the top running backs in the NFL. He showed you why yesterday. Again, we'll talk more about that in a minute. But I mean, like I said, like you guys said, I mean, there's not like big, other than maybe the Steelers and the Chiefs, there aren't really like, there's some like elite teams that you can say there's some like 4 or 5 really good, then like maybe 2 or 3 pretty good, and then, the others like, mediocre, and then like everybody else.
Where the Bears at on that list?
Mediocre. I'll say mediocre.
Mediocre?
The mediocre group, yeah.
Okay.
I would say mediocre group, just to be fair. But like I said, I have them at 2 and 6. So go figure.
Yeah. So technically they're supposed to be in the stinky group, but okay, that's what we'll digress here. But yeah, I mean, look, like I said, the Steelers look good. I mean, the Colts looked really good. Seattle, I mean, San Francisco, my goodness. I mean, they're still losing guys. I mean, they lost Garoppolo again, also Kittle again. So again, that's going to be something to look out for too. And so, yeah, anything else before we go to our studs and duds? You go first, Sid.
I just wanted to break down that Minnesota Green Bay game. Of course, the Vikings upset the Packers at Lambeau 28-22. I want to focus in on these two players. Dalvin Cook, 30 carries for 163 yards and 3 touchdowns. His longest run was 37 yards. Kirk Cousins, everybody and their mama has maligned him ever since he put on that Minnesota jersey a couple of years ago. This was the perfect game plan that the Vikings had wanted to institute all along. He went 11 for 14 with a touchdown, 138 quarterback rating of 82.1, but he had 1 touchdown, no turnovers. Let me repeat that again. No turnovers. So if Minnesota can keep that game plan together throughout the rest of the season, maybe they can get back into this thing. But I'm not so sure. On the other side for Green Bay, yes, Aaron Rodgers almost had 300 yards passing again with 3 touchdown passes, but they need Aaron Jones back. I know Jamal Williams carried the ball 60 times for 75 yards yesterday. I know A.J. Dillon, who has COVID as we speak, he carried the ball for 21 yards on 5 carries, but they need Aaron Jones back. He was really their MVP last year, which made that Green Bay offense go. Right now, if you're the Green Bay Packers, if you're a Packers fan, you have to be worried because look at the teams that they have lost to the last couple of years. Tampa Bay this year, Minnesota yesterday, and San Francisco twice last year, who you had to play again on the road this upcoming Thursday. Now, if San Francisco doesn't have their stars that we mentioned got hurt yesterday at Seattle, maybe things will line up for the Packers just a little bit. But the Packers are losing to these physical teams, and the Packers, even though the defense is good statistically, I told you guys the last couple of years they're not as good as people want them to make them out to be. But Green Bay, all of their losses, just study it the last couple of years, this year and last year, they have lost to physical teams that beat them up front. And that's not a good recipe for success going forward.
What about you, Lamont?
Yeah, all I was going to say was, as far as individually game operations, was that Pittsburgh-Baltimore game. And something that the coach said after the game is, I think, the mentality that a lot of teams need to take with a lot of players. He said, we respect Lamar Jackson, but we're not scared of Lamar Jackson. And I think if teams approach their quarterbacks that they're playing against, such as a Pat Mahomes and any other quote-unquote superstar, I think if you get that mindset, that's what I say, go back to coaching. I think if you get that mind state in your players, then they will do great things. Like, they pulled off yesterday. So, you look at that man had 4 turnovers because of that. And that's a mentality more so, I think, just as good as a talent standpoint. So I think you got to have them both sometimes, and it starts with your head coach. And I think that's what that's something we missing in Chicago, like a leader like that.
Yeah, going back to the Vikings Packers game, you can tell that the Packers missed Aaron Jones yesterday. That would have been fun.
Yes.
Him and Dalvin could kind of go in like having this nice little duo going mano a mano. But look, Dalvin Cook 163 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, and also a rushing and also a catching. He caught a touchdown pass too. Also, so 4 touchdowns total. So if you had him on your fantasy team, your league, I think you're looking pretty good this week. But look, like you said, so if the Vikings can kind of get a couple of games, I mean, the schedule kind of works in their favor a little bit. So it might be a little bit of a big stretch for them. Maybe they can compete for a playoff spot. But hey, look, you never know. I mean, I think they're starting to kind of find a rhythm in their offense and also their defense. Kind of made some stops late. Stopping Aaron Rodgers in his tracks. So we'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting.
Yes. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what happens. And before we get, like Sia mentioned, it's going to be a jam log for that last spot because you're going to have a bunch of teams coming out of the West. So everybody can't put 3 teams in. But if the East continue to help us like they're doing, then probably can. But I look for a couple of those West, the South going to cancel out. I'm looking for that West to try to cancel each other out. But the other ones, I'm going to say them 2 for my list that you got coming up. So,
yeah. All right. On that note, let's go to our Week 8 winner, studs and duds. So who wants to go first?
I'll go. We going studs first.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook, get him out the way early. He's healthy. He look healthy. That's a running back, Lakina. So that's a running back right there. That's a real running back. So I'm going to go with him. I'm going to go with head coach Mike Tomlin and his Pittsburgh Steelers mentality because they wasn't picked to beat Baltimore. For some reason, I don't know why people thought they couldn't beat Baltimore. But
I picked them on Friday.
Yes, you did.
Smart man. Yeah, and so a lot of people didn't think they could do it, but I don't know why. That's like I said, that's the most disrespected team in football right now. And Trayvon Diggs, I think the team sucks, but he had a hell of a game. He played football. He was the only reason to watch that game, really. He caught more passes than their receivers looked like. But I mean, as far as the stud list, I'm going with them. DJ Metcalf down in Seattle and Russ. I mean, I heard him mention Kirk Cousins and Diggs. The combination you should have been talking about is Wilson and Metcalf, because them boys came back and was like, okay, yeah, we lost that game, but let me show y'all why we supposed to be the MVP this year and why we still balling to the top of the thing. And don't be surprised if they still make another move before this trade deadline thing is over, because I think Seattle think they can taste it right now, and I think they're feeling a little disrespect also. So, I mean, they're my 4, though. I'm going with Wilson / Metcalf and Cook and Pittsburgh.
My 3 studs from yesterday were the Miami Dolphins. I'll pat myself on the back one more time. They defeated the Los Angeles Rams. Of course, they had a special teams punt return for a touchdown. Also, they had a fumble recovery that was returned for a touchdown. The Miami Dolphins special teams / defense gets a game ball for me. The second game ball, Justin Zimmer, number 61 for the Buffalo Bills. He stripped Cam Newton yesterday when the New England was trying to take the lead late in the game. Justin Zimmer stripped the ball and Buffalo recovered to preserve the win. The Buffalo Bills defeated the Patriots for the first time at home since 2011. So congratulations to the Bills. So Justin Zimmer, number 61 for Buffalo's defensive line. He gets my second game ball. And my third game ball, Lamont, you just took it from me, but I'll take it back. I was DK Metcalf, the wide receiver from the Seattle Seahawks. They dominated the 49ers, especially in that second half, as most of America was watching that Bears poop against the Saints. Yours truly was watching that Seattle-San Francisco game via my computer. DK Metcalf, he was so dominant in that first half. He had 6 catches for over 100 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Of course, he finished the game with 12 catches for 161 yards. So those are my 3 studs from yesterday.
Okay, my turn. I'll go a little bit different since a couple you guys took a couple of mine. Naheem Hines, number 21 for the Colts, had
That was going to be on there.
Yeah, 2 touchdown catches, including the somersault that he did after his first touchdown catch. That Simone Biles she approved. If you saw that was really cool.
That's worth it. That's worth it right there. If Simone Biles hit your inbox or something, hey, I get something good. Forget the touchdown. Let me hit.
I think she has a boyfriend though too, Lamont. So
I'm okay with that. I don't. She can go on and get married. I'm happy the fact that she noticed me today. Yeah, you with her every day. You got her. But today she noticed me. So you can have it forever, bro. But today, one moment, that's my moment. You can't have that one.
I'm sure. Look, I'm sure they put that up. I'm sure that was a big moment for him. Also, Phillip Rivers had 262 yards and 3 touchdown passes. So, and no interceptions too. That's the key. They were able to hold off the Detroit Lions. What'd you say, Lamont?
I said your coach bounced back.
Yeah, I told you he would. Look, Frank right there.
That boy came back. What?
Yeah.
Leonard.
Darius Leonard. Yep.
Came back on defense and changed everything. I think that's what they was missing.
Yeah.
That's why they had that little But yeah, they real on defense when he's in the game.
Yeah, had that best performance in the last couple of weeks. The Las Vegas Raiders. They kept the ball moving. Josh Jacobs had 128 rushing yards. They kept, Baker and that Browns offense off the field. They were able to kind of, keep churning along, and they were able to hold off the Browns. So good for the Raiders to get that win on the road. That could probably help. And when it comes to tiebreakers later on down the line, let's see, my last one. The Denver Broncos. That was a hell of a comeback. I think they were down, like 18 points or something like that. They were able to score, 21 points late in the fourth quarter, including the big touchdown pass to, I forgot who. It was KJ Hunter, Hamler, I think, that caught that last touchdown pass that ultimately ended up winning the game as time expired. Save for the Drew Lock weird awkward victory dance afterwards. But I mean,
yeah.
That's a good win. That's a good win for the Broncos. Yeah, that was a good win for the Broncos too. So a nice win for Vic Fangio and his Broncos. What'd you say, Lamont?
He needed that dance. He been getting beat up. He needed that dance.
Weird dance. Very weird, awkward dance. So you might as well check that out too. So like any other bonus studs before we go to our duds?
J.K. Dobbins, rookie running back out of Ohio State for Baltimore. He was the only bright spot for the Ravens in yesterday's 28-24 loss to Pittsburgh. 15 carries for over 113 yards.
Yeah. No, I hadn't had no bonus ones, but because you mentioned him, that might have got them put on my other list because they had 265 yards rushing and 4 turnovers and still couldn't beat Pittsburgh Steelers. So that could put you on a dud list. They didn't make the list, but that could have got you on there. So I had looked at them, but they didn't get you on the list. But and since I brought it up, since we're going with duds, the entire team of Dallas Cowboys.
Oh my God, that game was horrible yesterday. My goodness.
From the owner box all the way down to the brother that handed them the Gatorade bottle. The whole thing. But luckily they got a big stadium. They got enough room for all that garbage. You can take your garbage and go over there and social distance. You can social distance your garbage over here. They got enough room for all that garbage they doing down there. So they definitely get like a giant one, a giant one. The next one I was giving out was gonna go to. I mean, I know I hate to stay local, but I gotta go with Matt Nagy's play calling. I just don't think he can call plays right, man. I just don't see it. It's like he never calls the play that we need, like ever. And I think that just has become a problem that they can't seem to overcome and get past and get out of. And last, I guess I can put them on there since you brung them, but I'm not going to. As far as Baltimore go, I'm not going to put them on there. The third and last thing I'm going to put on there will probably be the team that lost to Denver. The Chargers. Ain't no way you supposed to let Denver come back and beat you like that. Drew Lock, crazy man dance, all of that. No, they had that. They showed that they're a little young and they're not ready. Even that defense is good, but it's young. So I think their immaturity played into that, and they'll get that last spot.
I'll go with my 3 duds, Lamont. I'll piggyback off of you. There was we call them the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles on this show. Of course, they lost to the Broncos, as you mentioned, 31-30. Justin Herbert had a great game, but the reason why the Chargers are my duds was because, like you mentioned, Lamont, they were up 20 points on the road. You couldn't close out. Now your record drops to 2-5, and you may have cost your chance at a playoff spot. We shall see as these weeks go along. But I saw this stat on television this morning. The Chargers with a 17-point lead or more, they are 0-3, while the rest of the NFL is 52-4. So marinate on that for a minute or two. My second dud is Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson didn't have a great game. Was he the only reason why Baltimore lost? No. Give credit to that Pittsburgh defense, but Lamar Jackson didn't have a good game. I did watch that game, some of it live via my computer. He had a pick six, and he had a couple of fumbles in there as well. So the Baltimore offense gets my second dud. My third dud is Chicago Bears wide receiver Javon Wims. We discussed it in our last segment. You know why.
Okay, my first duds are the Rams. I mean, like I said before, I know people want to say, well, are the Rams, like, the Rams must not be very good. But let's remember, they had a short week. They had to travel cross country. They had to play a noon game. So I'm kind of surprised that they didn't lobby the NFL to say, hey, look, can we push this game back to 325? But, maybe they would have had a better shot. But, it is what it is. So that's my dud for them. I'm going to say that the Ravens, for all the reasons that Sid just alluded to, because there are some issues there. And you got now Ronnie Stanley's out. Marlon Humphrey has COVID. So now there are some issues going on in Baltimore. So I'm a little concerned about that Baltimore team.
They just paid Stanley? Didn't they pay Stanley yesterday?
They did. Yeah, they did. A couple of days ago. Yeah. Right
I paid
after
you when you go?
Yeah. Yeah.
He took the money, man. Literally.
Yeah, apparently so. Now he's got an ankle injury. He's done for the year. The Chargers, it pains me. Another game that they should have won. Now Desmond King, who's one of their top defensive guys, could be out on the markets.
They traded him, they say, to Tennessee.
Oh, Tennessee? Oh, really? Okay, I gotta look that up.
I think I just seen that.
Oh, okay. Again, well, yeah. I mean, look. I mean, I think Anthony Lynn, who I like a lot, but unfortunately, I think he's on the hot seat there. Although Justin Herbert looked really good, he had 2 interceptions, but look, he's gonna have his growing pains. But look, the Chargers, you can't afford to miss those type of opportunities. You can be right there fighting for a wild card spot, and now you're 2-6, and then you may have to trade some of your best players. So, and those are any other bonus duds.
No, he traded him to the Titans.
Oh, really? Okay, so it's official. All right. And so, any other bonus duds?
Other than that Bears, that Bear. I mean, the Bears, man. Like overall, the Rams get some bonus dud time too. Sydney, good pick, Sydney. Picking.
Thank you.
Picking Miami to win, but some Miami said that was interesting. Miami said, y'all talking about the Rams defense, y'all better talk about our defense. And I think that they made me look at their defense. I watched it on I went back and watched the game. And he got a point. They got a bunch of no names that's hitting you, and you're going to know their name one day type situation going on down there. So getting that quarterback in could be, man, what they need, man. So maybe it was 2 a time.
Yeah, my bonus dud for me is the Cleveland Browns, or as I call them, the Cleveland Clowns. You put up 6 points yesterday against maybe an average or slightly above average Las Vegas Raiders team at home. Baker Mayfield, his days may be numbered as the starting quarterback for that franchise.
Would you take him here?
Whew. It depends on who the coach is, because I'll be for damn sure it won't be Nagy.
No,
If
not at
it's
all.
Nagy, probably not.
Because
Same here. Yeah, same here.
you was mentioning that earlier. If the Bears keep up on this pace they on right now, they can end up 5-11 and get a good draft pick and may get a quarterback. I
They're
told you it's
not getting
gonna
Trevor
happen.
Lawrence. Sorry, they're not going to.
Oh no, it's not. That's not happening. I don't know who put that out there that he was gonna do that, but no, that ain't happening.
That's why I
Yeah,
said
don't start there, Lamont. The Bears are
no,
not getting Trevor Lawrence. They
no,
can lose
no.
the rest of the
Notice I
season.
didn't
They're
say
not getting
him.
him.
I didn't say him. I said a
Okay,
good
just making
quarterback.
sure.
No, not him. A good quarterback.
Okay.
You look at the ones that came into the league this year that's playing. It's more than one that's playing that's a rookie. It's more than one that's playing that's showing you talent as a rookie. So it may be 2 quarterbacks in there this year, maybe even 3. I'm just saying they might have to pull a trigger in the second round or late first round and get them a real quarterback eventually. They're gonna have to do something because this is not it. And they're gonna have to see that eventually. I mean, but it remains to be seen. But no, I wasn't thinking Trevor at all. He New York bound. And I don't think that's best for his career. I really don't.
Probably not. My bonus dud for me are the Cowboys. Enough said. Enough said. Enough said. All right, let's go to the college. Oh, you know what? Do you guys want to even bother previewing the Bucks Giants game tonight?
You know what?
We all picked Tampa Bay. That's it.
Right,
We all picked Tampa Bay, but it's a sudden thing called New York Kryptonite and Tom Brady. It's some reality in that. I'm just saying. It's 2020. Look at all the craziness that has happened in 2020. Look at everything that happened. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if it were to happen, I wouldn't be looking at the TV surprised simply because the name Giant put fear in Brady's heart and he may blow it again against a team that he better beat, not supposed to beat. And if it were to happen in 2020 and COVID and this year, I would just be like, what else you expected in 2020?
We'll see. We'll see. So let's go to the college gridiron there, gentlemen. Some very interesting things happened. All right, so where do you guys want to start?
I got something for Lamont. Let's start local. I did watch a couple minutes of this game. Purdue defeated Illinois 24-17. Lamont, I don't know if you saw the last play of the game for Illinois. I watched this live. It was a 4th and 10 situation from inside their 10.
Yeah.
The guy that caught the ball was 2 yards short. You got to know the situation. You had the chance to at least get the game into overtime. And you didn't play that great, but you hung around in there. Purdue, let's be honest, Purdue's not that great. They haven't been great in the last few years. But you had the chance to maybe to get that game into overtime, perhaps pull off a quote-unquote mini upset. But now that you're 0-2, if you got to win at least, like you said, Lamont, the rest of that schedule. I think for damn sure it's not possible now. You gave that one away, that game away at home on Saturday.
Yep, and they don't have a quarterback neither, so that didn't help. So I think if they would have had their quarterback, it may have went different. But once they were saying that he wasn't going to play from the start, I think that took all the sail out of the little win that they had, and that's the result you get when you do that. So another crushing defeat, and I think, they don't really have a great shot at bouncing back and playing in the Big Ten championship game, but it's 2020, and anything can happen in 2020. That's why you got to vote tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll get that in a little bit. What about you, Lamont?
College football wise,
yeah.
Over the weekend, definitely watched Alabama to see what Mississippi State do. They did what I thought they would. I told y'all on Friday that Clemson wouldn't miss Trevor Lawrence. When DJ Uiagalelei, hopefully I said it right, when he goes and blows, I wore this shirt for a reason. When he goes and blows this team out, notice I have on my Notre Dame hockey shirt. Yeah, I got a hockey shirt. football. And when he goes and blows out Notre Dame this week, I think we want Trevor will only be being said by the sponsors and people of that nature that stand to get paid off of him being the number one pick. I think Clemson has started to look beyond and move past Trevor Lawrence because they know what they got in DJ right there. So I was watching that, and I think he set records, and he's big and he's strong. I just think it's really scary every time they mention Jamarcus Russell name with him. I think that's just scary and cursey type. So I'm hoping that that's not what happens to him as a football player. But I think Clemson has moved past that. And if he goes and dominates Notre Dame in Notre Dame, it's going to be some problems. And they're going to just wait for Trevor to go on to the NFL, and they're going to move forward with what they got.
They have no choice but to do that as far as next year is concerned, because Trevor Lawrence will be drafted by the NFL. Speaking of that Clemson-Boston College game, I watched the majority of that game. You couldn't ask for a better script for the Boston College Golden Eagles. You had a fake field goal. You on fourth down towards the end of that first half. You faked it. You drew Clemson off sides, and then you threw the touchdown pass to end the first half. It was a 28-10 lead, I believe, at halftime. And then, of course, Clemson, you knew that they were going to make a run, and they made a run that they did, and they ended up beating Boston College 38-24. Travis Etienne had 7 catches for 140 yards and a go-ahead touchdown in that second half. Boston College, as I mentioned, it was a tale of two halves. They were aggressive in the first half. In the second half, they got outplayed, and they were dominated by the Tigers in that second half. It was definitely a tale of two halves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually caught the tail end of it as Clemson was starting to pull away. Look, Agoulier, that's the best. Look, that's really like the best. He did the best he could with actually a short practice. So I can only imagine what he's going to do once he does have a full week of practice. I mean, look, he didn't turn the ball over. He was able to overcome the nerves. His guys helped him out. I think there was a little bit of nerves too, because I think the game would have pulled away even earlier than that.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Even earlier than that. Once all those things settled in, his nerves settled. But the defense did what they were supposed to do. Like I said, I think Boston College, like you said, stopped being aggressive in the second half. I think I think mentally they knew that, okay, yeah, Clemson's going to wake up and we're pretty much done. And they were. So, but yeah, I mean, look, we'll see what happens. They got to go at South Bend. We'll see what he does. We'll talk more about it on Friday, but he looked really good, I got to say, from what I saw. Georgia, not a very flashy performance, but they didn't really need it against Kentucky. So they did just enough. Yeah. I mean, look, I know Bennett threw 2 interceptions, and that wasn't good. But look, they did enough to win, and it's Kentucky's kind of rebuilding. So I think Georgia fans should be okay. A nice win from Mel Tucker and Michigan State. I mean, look, like I said,
overrated for the Michigan Wolverines.
Well, look, I always say that you throw the records out the window when those two play each other because it's an in-state rival. Like I said, that secondary is a big issue for the Wolverines, and it will be a big issue for them this season. They're very young overall on that defense. Their offense is still did their thing and what they were supposed to, but their defense didn't make the stops late. So, but I'm happy for Mel Tucker and the Spartans. They got blown out last year at home, so that was a little bit of revenge for them there.
Yes, I watched that. But other than that, college-wise, I'm really looking forward to seeing that Clemson how he goes. And like you said, Boston College, they could have been up, should have been up. And what was cool about that game was who was calling that game when he had. That was so cool.
Tessitore, yeah.
Joe Tessitore, yeah. His son, I think his name is John, I think.
Yeah, his son, the one that did that fake, and that was really cool. That was actually cool. I liked that. So, as far as going forward, we got Pac-12 coming back Saturday. That should be interesting. And we got the Big Ten continuing to move forward. But I'm really looking to see, can that DJ boy go up there and beat up on Notre Dame in Notre Dame? And that's going to cause a whole lot of trouble in college football if it happens. That's all I'm going to say.
What about Texas upsetting number 6 Oklahoma State 41-34 in overtime? I did catch some of that game. It was a high scoring affair. That's the Big 12 conference for you.
Yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
high. Yeah, I saw the highlights of that. That looked really impressive. Texas has had their struggles lately, so that's a nice win for them. Kind of like derailed Oklahoma State's chances, even though they're still within distance for the Big 12. So we'll see what happens. And I think they made some questionable decisions that they weren't able to score. So that I was a little bit sort of surprised by that. But look, Texas. Look, is Texas back? I don't know, but
We're gonna wait a week. Let's wait 2 weeks. Let's wait.
That's a nice win for them, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, then Oklahoma blows out Texas Tech 62-28.
Well, we might be. I think they turned the corner a little bit. I think Spencer Rattler is settling into like the quarterback role for them, and I think look, their defense actually made some stops, believe it or not. So that's why they only gave up 28 points. That's actually a good.
That's what's the amazing part.
Yeah, they kept under 30 points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
Oklahoma might be coming back though. They might be turning the quarter here. So we'll see.
So is that
Going back to local college football, let's give Northwestern some love. They're 2-0. They defeated Iowa. Shout out to our friend of the show, Alyssa Bergamini, the in-game host for the Chicago White Sox. She went to Iowa, but give some love to Northwestern. They are now 2-0.
Yeah, better than Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I watched a lot of that Northwestern Iowa game. They looked really good. They came back from a 14-point deficit. They were come back to win. So good for Pat Fitzgerald and the Northwestern team. Ohio State. I mean, what more can we say about Justin Fields? As it hasn't been said, he's good.
Yeah.
He threw for 4 touchdowns. Yay!
Yeah, that final score is a bit deceiving. I did turn to it in the beginning. They blew out Penn State and Happy Valley. That was no contest.
No. Couple of garbage touchdowns late for Penn State, but yeah. Mm-hmm. And Fields might take over their lead since Lawrence will be on the DL. Well, not I don't want to say designated list, but he's going to be out of commission for the next couple of weeks here.
And trust me, they not rushing them back.
Oh, no.
If this boy play good in Notre Dame, trust me, they not rushing him back. He may not come back and just ride off into the sunset and take his number 1 pick. It wouldn't surprise me if he do.
Important note, though, here's a guy.
Also, let's give some love to Indiana as well.
Oh, yeah. They're 2-0 too. They were able to kind of hold off Rutgers. The great back to the defining great Schianos. They're actually playing better now. Go figure. Again, with Schiano back at the helm. But, Indiana looked really good. So, yeah.
You were saying breaking news?
No, I was going to say like a special note, sort of a guy that a lot of people probably aren't talking about for the Heisman, Desmond Ridder for Cincinnati, another big game for him.
Yeah.
Three touchdown passes, two rushing touchdowns. This guy should be right there for like the Heisman consideration. He has just as many rushing touchdowns as he does, passing touchdowns, I should say. So Desmond Ridder from Cincy and Luke Fickell's doing very well over there, and they're undefeated, and they're in the top 5. So,
and they want some respect too. They say they want some respect too. Hey, like you gonna learn who he is. We want some respect, yes. And I think they better give him some, or they gonna take it by accident. Like if they run into the wrong team in the right time, they will beat you. They will beat you.
Yeah, they beat Memphis for the first time in 4 years. So, congrats to the Bearcats. All right, anything else college football wise? Before we
just looking at the schedule. Like I said, we'll get into more in our next episode coming up on Friday. But there's some big games across the country, especially in the Big Ten. It's going to make or break some teams. But I'll leave you with that tease. We'll get into it on Friday.
What about you, Lamont?
As far as college football, like you said, we'll get into the rest of that on Friday. I was looking at these rumblings from the NFL before we get out of here. JPP said he's going to destroy the Giants tonight. See, stuff like that is what scared me. Remember I mentioned earlier about that kryptonite. You got him going back trying to destroy people. It could get us. It gets scared. Something bad could happen. And what y'all think about Washington saying they're going to trade Dude today? What about him coming to the Bears?
What,
We need
Dwayne
a
Haskins?
quarterback. Yeah, we need a quarterback.
You're probably not gonna get much back from him.
I know it's not gonna happen, but
You probably
I
won't
just
get
want
much.
to get y'all opinion.
Yeah, I don't think you'll get much from him. I don't think.
That's what I'm saying. We can get him a fourth or fifth round and probably get him. I just don't think we would ever do something like that. But you think anybody gonna snatch him up? You think we're gonna make any moves in the next 24 hours?
You need offensive line help if you're the Bears, and if your
Bad.
offensive line is on the street right now, you are on the street, i.e., free agency for a reason. You're not going to find Anthony Munoz or in his prime Orlando Pace or Jackie Slater in their prime out there on the free agent market. It's just not going to happen.
Or Jonathan Ogden too in his prime. So
Thank you.
Jonathan Ogden, his whole career, he was like, he was consistent throughout his
Baltimore.
career. Yeah, from
Yeah,
Baltimore.
he was just a brick over. He was like a building over there. You just had to run around the building like a co-ed building.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not going to see anything too much. I don't think the Bears will be able to make any big moves.
And wasn't no truth to the Kyle Long wanting to come back stuff.
No, I think he was just playing around, I think. All right. The Bulls made some news today, wrapping up here. Mo Cheeks, the former Bull, former NBA veteran, and a veteran head coach, is going to join Billy Donovan's staff, following him from OKC. What do you guys think about that move?
Better, great. He can teach Kobe White how to be a complete point guard, score when you need to, pass when you're supposed to. I mean, he can show him that. And Cheeks, I was happy in Portland with him. So I'm cool. I'm very cool with that move. I'm just looking forward to see what they do in a couple of weeks with this draft pick. It looks like they're going to go overseas and pull him, which may be the best move. I'm liking that boy out of Auburn a little bit, but, we will see. We definitely will see. I think it's going to be some flipping and flopping going on in that draft, and they may get a blessing that they're not even looking for, just like the fourth pick is a blessing anyway, but they may get something dropped in their lap that they didn't expect. So I'm looking to see what they do, but I think the Cheeks move will definitely help them. I was more laughing at the move they making over in Brooklyn and what they're doing up there. So you're going to take the player and make them the coach, and make the coach the assistant, and make the star player the player development person. I'm like, well, wait, hold on, let me look at this again. So your player development person gonna be your old star, and your coach gonna be your sidekick, so to speak. That's how that works, right?
Apparently.
You know what? I'm telling people, you're gonna have to have a whole lot of talent to overcome it, and they got a lot of talent. But the moves they making, I don't know, man. I don't know that NBA, and it wouldn't surprise me if James Harden end up in Philadelphia. It will not surprise me one bit if he end up in Philadelphia.
The team that Lamont was talking about is the Brooklyn Nets. Of course, Steve Nash is the head coach. Never coached before. Of course, Mike D'Antoni, his former coach from back in the day with the Phoenix Suns, and Nash's playing days now will be the former Rockets coach will be Steve Nash's lead assistant. Going back to the Bulls, congrats to hometown guy Maurice Cheeks, Hall of Famer, will be helping now as an assistant coach to Billy Donovan. Like you mentioned, Lamont, it'll be interesting to see how he works with Kobe White. Will he develop under him? We shall see. I think there's a lot of potential in Kobe White. We know that he's a scorer. Is he a true point guard? We shall see, but we know he can score the you-know-what out of the ball. We saw that when he was in North Carolina. We saw it in spots here during his rookie season with the Bulls. So I want to see if Kobe White can take that next step and if Maurice Cheeks will help him. So it's going to be whenever next season starts, it's going to be interesting. Now, before we get about it here, the NBA will have a big decision potentially to make this week go on when the NBA season will start for 2020 and 2021. Will it start on December 22nd? Will it start in January? As our guest on Friday, Cheryl Ray Stout, said it may start later than that. Now, we all know that it comes down to money, but if they start on Christmas Day, that's perfect because there's no other professional sports going on at that time besides football. Football they play on Sundays, so I think the Players Association and the league will come to a compromise, and this is all about money. At the end of the day, the players will have to get some money back because at least in the beginning, at least for the first couple of months, if they do start in January or Christmas Day, everybody around the country will not have fans in the stands or a limited amount of fans in the stands. So that's one of the big issues right now. So how are they going to divvy up this revenue, because it's 50-50 right now under the current collective bargaining agreement. So it's a big decision that the association faces itself. They knew that this was coming. I think they'll make the right decision. I think they'll have to meet somewhere in the middle. But I think we'll get our wish, and we will see basketball around the holidays, i.e. Christmas.
Like you
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
Steve, that money thing, they stand to lose. Like if they don't start on the 22nd, they're looking at losing like $600 million or something. And then if they don't start,
$2 billion.
yeah, then if they don't start on the 22nd, they're gonna run into the playoffs, the Olympics, and they don't want to run into all of that. So I think that 22nd may be the starting date to get everything in there. And yeah, the stadium's gonna be half empty at the beginning, so to speak. But I think after the Super Bowl, everything's gonna open back up pretty much, because there's some people in that Super Bowl, so everybody else gonna say, "Man, let it roll, let it roll." And I think that's what's about to happen. So I think they will probably stick with that December 22nd date for the money spot, and the fact that they know they're getting some type of people back in there. It ain't nothing but 2,000-3,000. I bet you they make sure it's the 2,000-3,000 that season ticket holders, that's been season ticket holders that spend 2,000-3,000 every time they come in the building. So that might be a select pick on that, whoever many coming back in the building. So they playing the numbers game. They know what they're doing.
It'll be to see the travel too. I mean, will they kind of keep everything regional? That's going to be the question. Will everybody stay out west or stay out east and just play each other that way? Maybe have some interdivisional games. That might be the only way they'll be able to make that revenue up. And will it be fans, or will it be virtual fans again, like they did down at the bubble in Orlando? So there's still a lot for them to have to figure out. They've got time to do it. You got the draft coming up in a couple of weeks, and we'll see once, when training camp and once they make the scheduling, once all that starts. But I think they'll end up starting in Christmas, though. I think that they'll be in the middle.
Yeah. And before you get out of here, one more note, LaKenna. Did you hear the noise at some of those college football games this weekend?
Oh, yeah, I saw some of it.
Oh, my God. To hear noise again is weird, almost at this point.
Especially Clemson.
Yeah. Yeah, man, to hear all that noise them people was making, anytime you rested on the Richter scale, that means there's some people in the building. And that's interesting just to hear it again. It's like, whoa, that's what that sounded like. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing noise again. I think I had got used to not hearing it, but to hear it again, and it's like my first time really hearing it at a college game this year. I mean, I heard a couple of claps and stuff, but you actually heard real noise this weekend. So we'll see.
It's all a consideration, right? I mean, yeah, there's still something to be. Cause I saw in Wisconsin where there was really nobody there at Camp Randall, which was very weird. And you got some areas where they kind of just had the cheerleaders and the pom squads and the band sort of be part of the crowd. Yeah, and also the friends and family members of the players to kind of sort of have some type of normal crowd noise. But, we'll see. But listen, COVID cases are going up across the country, so I think people may need to kind of slow down a bit. But, we'll see how the Pac-12 looks.
And on that note, you got one of our candidates said if they win, the COVID's going to be over. So
we'll leave that alone.
Make sure you vote. Make sure you vote. Make sure you vote. Everyone votes. That's all I'm saying. Everyone vote.
All right. Okay. As in closing, anything you guys looking forward to this week before we convene Friday?
New president. I'm looking for a trade. I'm looking for somebody to get moved in the next 24 hours that makes some noise. It's gonna be somebody, even if there ain't nobody but New England trading Cam. Somebody gonna do something to make us say something on Friday. I believe it.
For me, look ahead to another fun-filled weekend of football games, both college and pro. And I'm not going to mention to what's going to happen on Tuesday. I'll leave our political pundits to explain it way better than I can, so I'll leave that alone. But I can't wait to get back here on Friday to preview a big weekend of action in football. Plus, the Pac-12 is returning, so I cannot wait for that.
That's what I'm looking forward to as well, Sid and Lamont. I mean, I'm looking forward. There's a lot of big games coming up both Saturday and Sunday. Actually, the Pac-12 actually starts on Friday, believe it or not. So there's a couple of games.
Before, right?
Yep. So there's gonna be a lot of stuff going on there, and also, there's gonna be some other things going on with soccer and everything. So a lot of stuff going on. It's sort of a busy time in sports, but with everything else kind of in lockdown. So I would advise everybody to, if you haven't voted yet, do it. It's supposed to be a nice day here tomorrow, especially here in Chicago. So if you haven't voted yet, make a plan. That's all I'm going to say about that. And on that note, see, the phone agrees with me. You can follow me at Keena McGee on Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the Instagram.
You can follow me at Lamont Scott on Facebook, Lamont Scott 69 on Instagram, Lamont Scott 16 on Twitter.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. You can go to our website at weareregalradio.com. That's WEAREREGAL radio.com. And you can listen to this podcast, Second City Sports, along with the other programming from War Media, just by simply searching War on Anchor. Wherever you download your podcast, make sure you search for War on Anchor, whether it's iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud. Wherever you download your podcast, make sure you search for War on Anchor. And we're also on iHeartRadio. Please download the iHeartRadio app and search for War on Anchor. That's WARR on Anchor. And we're also on YouTube at War Media. Once again, at WARR Media. You can watch us do our thing live and see our lovely, intelligent faces. Hello.
So everybody, please, stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, and vote if you haven't already for the guys on the Kia. This has been Second City Sports Zoom style, and we'll see you Friday.
Till next time, holla!